Today I want to start drilling down into specific natural products and supplement ingredients that have the potential to help with microclots and platelet hyperactivation in long COVID. Remember, the plan here is to try to identify natural products and supplement ingredients that have the same mechanisms of action as the pharmaceutical drugs that make up triple anticoagulant therapy. As a reminder, here are those three drugs and their mechanisms of action. Apixaban is an anticoagulant that inhibits factor Xa. Aspirin is a platelet activation inhibitor which targets the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. Clopidogrel is a second platelet activation inhibitor that targets the P2Y1 and P2Y12 receptors. To identify the needed natural products, I first compiled a comprehensive list of compounds to research from the scientific literature, Google, and textbooks from the natural product course that I teach. Here's the comprehensive list that I came up with. Now keep in mind, these are compounds that are supposed to be anticoagulants or platelet activation inhibitors or quote-unquote blood thinners, but we have to verify that. So the next step in my work was to take each compound and find peer-reviewed scientific literature to confirm whether the compound is an anticoagulant or platelet activation inhibitor, and if so, what the specific mechanism of action is. It's a long list of compounds, so it's taken me a long time. After completing that research process, here are the natural products and supplement ingredients that are COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors. They're highlighted here in blue. Now, something interesting and a bit unexpected happened when I went through the list researching the mechanisms of action. All of these compounds in blue are platelet activation inhibitors, and all of them inhibit COX-1 enzyme, but only a couple of the compounds also inhibited COX-2 enzyme. That led me to ask the question, do we want just a COX-1 inhibitor or a dual COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitor in the natural version of triple anticoagulant therapy? When we think back to triple anticoagulant therapy and the component that we're trying to replicate, aspirin, we know that aspirin is a dual COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitor. But when we look at the molecular pathways in platelets, we see that only the COX-1 enzyme is involved in platelet activation mechanisms. So is there another benefit to including COX-2 inhibition in the formula? The answer is actually yes. Inhibition of COX-2 is where aspirin gets its anti-inflammatory properties. So by including a dual COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitor in the natural version of triple anticoagulant therapy, we'll not only get the COX-1 inhibitor we need as a platelet activation inhibitor, but we also get a bonus anti-inflammatory effect. That's a win-win scenario in my book. So we have 4 candidates to use that are dual COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors: White Willow, Boswellia, cat's claw, and olive oil extract. Reviewing the data for each of these and thinking about formulating one of these components into a capsule with other ingredients, I've chosen White Willow Bark extract as the COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitor for the natural version of triple anticoagulant therapy. For more info on COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors, visit the link in the comments. And to learn more about the natural version of triple anticoagulant therapy that I'm working on, go to my bio and click the link. Thanks, and see you next time.